Hi, and welcome back to my channel. I am going to review my August books. So it is September 1st today. Tomorrow is Labor Day, and then we're going to be deep into September. Well, deep, 2 days in, into my reading for September. August was a wild month. So I had the last week in August off, so I still have not gone back to work from that yet. So I worked like last weekend and then have not worked since, and I have the holiday off too, which is super exciting. Never happens. And I didn't even know, like, there was no reason to take the days off. It was just I like to snatch up days that I can. So the week that I had off, I read a book a day. So I haven't even counted how many I've read so far, but it was a good month. I got through so many books that I've wanted to get through. I had some really good books. I had some duds, but still like books I've wanted to read. So, let's get started. One of the booktubers that I follow really enjoyed the book Bad Summer People. And this was an audiobook that became available for me, and I really enjoyed it. So, I mean, like, not the most riveting book ever, but it was just like, it was rich people behaving badly, and it was just exactly what it needed to be. So I gave it 4 stars. There's a murder, like they find a body, and then you're like, really any of these people could have done it because they're all just really shady and just doing bad stuff, sleeping around and stealing and really every other bad thing. But yeah, it was enjoyable. Wouldn't necessarily be like everyone must read this, but it was enjoyable. It was fun. It was like very summery. It was a nice like feeling of summer. So I gave that one 4 stars. Then I've read Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I think I read The Friend Zone. I think that's by her too, and I enjoyed it. Just didn't like knock my socks off, so I didn't like actively seek her out until like Yours Truly, just for the summer, we're getting a bunch of hype. So I read Yours Truly because it's about like nurses and doctors. And I just thought she did a really good job with it. It was so good. I loved it. So that was a 5 star. So then I thought, I should probably read the first one in the series. So I read Part of Your World. And it's loosely a series. Like, these characters overlap. I am very happy I read this one before I read the third one, because I was waiting for something to happen, and it did, and it was great. But now I feel like she's got to have another book in this series. Like, it just feels like there's too much. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. So this book I gave 4 stars to. I thought Yours Truly was a little bit better, and maybe that's why that gets more recommendations than this one does. But this was very cute. So our main character is on her way home from like her aunt's funeral. So the funeral's not necessarily like a huge part of the story, but she's on her way home, has some like car trouble, runs into someone, has a one-night stand. And he is not all what she thinks she should be with, kind of changes her whole trajectory of life to be with him. But it's cute. It's really good. So 4 star, more like 4.5, you know. It's a good one. Then, I don't know if I have the cover for this. Yeah, I do. Done and Dusted was the first in this series. This is Swift and Saddled. I don't know. Like, I like these books, but they're not something that I would necessarily like recommend and be like, these are the best ever. Like, they're spicy, but they're not, I don't know, they're pretty predictable. This character really annoyed me, Ada, the main character. So she is in town to work on the ranch, and then she has like so much chemistry with this guy at the bar, which, whatever, man, I guess. But so she like tries to hook up with him, and then is like super embarrassed when it's him. Like, who did you think it was gonna be? You're in a very small town. Very small. Guess what? They fall in love. Okay? Sorry I ruined that for you. Yeah, I don't know. She was also one of those characters that was like, nobody likes me. Well, they were all like, we really like you. We really like you. And she's like, no one's ever liked me. It was grating. It wasn't enjoyable. Okay, I love a fantasy retelling. So I picked up Guild because it's supposed to be a King Midas retelling. okay, so there was how it ended was good. But that's like this much of the book. So now I'm in a real quandary. Do I read the next book? But I think there's like 5 or 6, so I really have no interest in reading all of them. So our main character is Aurea. Yeah, Aurea, like gold, A-U, Aurea. She lives in King Midas's castle, but she's like weirdly a prisoner in a cage. And we don't really know why, but she has like all this loyalty to him, and then she's stolen. And we find things out about her. She has weird body ribbons that they're so creepy. So I feel like they're probably going to come into play somewhere else in the story, but I'm sorry, just the idea of like just ribbons of flesh coming off your body. Nope, I don't like it. Okay? I gave that one 3 stars. I don't know. Also, like, nothing happened in this book. So, why so long? And why not, I don't know, like, even then, just make it a little bit longer so that the very best part of it is not the last page. Like, okay. Then I read The Chalice of the Gods, which is a Percy Jackson and the Olympians story. I really enjoyed this series, but I think I've gotten to the point where it's like, okay, this is why I'm not really interested in more of these. So I gave it 3 stars. Again, like super predictable what's going to happen. And very much written for YA. Like even more like middle grade. Like we say really stupid things. We act really stupid. Like a middle schooler. So there's another one that's coming out soon. I'm going to try really hard to not read it. Okay? And I don't know if maybe the other ones were just better. Like I liked where the other ones were going. And then I feel like they kind of wrapped up. Right? And now we're like, oh, but maybe you'll want more. I think it's better without. Then one of my like buzzword challenge for books for the month was to read a title with the word like in the book. And I had nothing on my TBR, nothing on my physical TBR, nothing in audiobooks, until I found A Lot Like Adios. This is a Primas of Power series, which I read the first one, which was You Had Me at Hola, and I did like it. These are like spicy. There's some Spanish in it, which is fun because they actually do not translate all the Spanish, so it's just like fun to know a little bit. I did really enjoy this book, so I gave it 4 stars, which was really funny because it was like I read this after a bunch of like books, like a bunch of sequels that it was like, okay, these will probably be good, and they were not. And then I read this one and it was delightful. So our main characters were best friends in high school. And then I think it was, Gabe. Gabe's dad was really hard on him. And so like the only thing that he was like getting him through high school was being able to get out of town. So he like moved to Los Angeles. But he's back in New York to consult with Michelle for his gym business, and maybe they have sex. Maybe. But they like the chemistry is good. We didn't have to like wait around. Like the spice started happening right away, but it like fit the storyline. It was good. I liked it. And then if you didn't know, I have a mason jar that I've been like pulling things out of to read. So I like made an August TBR, put them all on, what color? They were pink Post-it notes this month. And then when I was done with the book, I just Post-it note pulled out the next one. So the order I read these books in was totally up to chance, which was kind of exciting. Because I probably never would have reached for this book. I chose it for book of the month because I just feel like I need to read. I just need some diversity in my reading, right? So this is historical fiction. This is pre-Civil War Philadelphia, where like slavery is outlawed, but you can like travel there for like a few weeks with your slave, as long as you don't stay there. I think was it 6 months, I think. If you stay there for 6 months with your slave, then they technically are emancipated. So we're following 3 characters. One is just a wealthy Black woman. She's free. They're all like teenagers. And then a runaway slave who's living with her father, who is passing as white. So they like can't really have a relationship. And then a third girl who is with the prior slave owner, and she's still a slave. So lots of like civil rights, women's rights, and like the revolution's kind of gearing up to. This was a good book. It just, for the premise and all the things that were happening, it still read very boring, which was disappointing. There was even like interesting things happening, and it still just kind of read boring. So I don't know. And like one of my favorite historical fiction authors is Kristen Hanna, and honestly, like, her books are not that exciting. They just read so well. Like, I just cannot put them down, and I don't know. I think maybe she just puts like a little bit of like cocaine in there or something, because this is an exciting story and it was boring. I gave it a 3. Maybe you would love this. I don't know. You might love it. There were parts of it I really enjoyed. Then I did the tandem read of all tandem reads. That's right. That means I have 1 left. Only 1 left in the Throne of Glass series. And honestly, for how big these books are, they read so fast. Thank God I did the tandem read, though, because at this much of this book was super readable. Like, the rest was fine, but it's my least favorite character. Very much separated from the main story. So reading them like a few chapters at a time, flipping and flopping, and being able to, like, this book is all action and things I care about. And this is like, I'm going to touch you and then I'm going to throw up a lot. Like, I feel like there was a lot of puking. But the end redeemed itself. Now I cannot wait for these characters to come back together. So I have to read Kingdom of Ash. It's on a post-it for this month. I'm excited. These are so floppy. I really like them. Okay, so Tower of Dawn, I gave 4 stars. Okay, it maybe was really good starting here. Okay, it was a few hundred pages. And the rest was not bad. It's just Kale is not my favorite character. He's a whiner. And him being a paralyzed whiner was not very fun. I also don't love a lot of political fantasy. This is all political fantasy until the end, okay? But still 4 stars. Well done. Well, if you have to go to a different land and learn these things, you did it well. But this book, she's a 5-star. I think this is my first 5-star for this series. Maybe not. Maybe I've given another one 5 stars. Oh, Mabel got really excited about that one. Should we do a little cameo? Mabel. She's got her new apple collar on for fall. It's her birth month this month, September. Oh man, she hates me. She just wants me to lay down so bad. I cannot. We have to talk about books. Okay, the twist at the end. Manon, I don't know how to say her name. The witch, she's my favorite, I think. But I also love Elodie and Lorcan. Are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? I love enemies to lovers. I love, like, characters you don't think are going to get together. This book was sexy. Sexier than the others. Yeah, just the lore that we're learning about. This is my kind of fantasy, okay? Slightly sad that it took this many books to get to it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It took 6 books to get to it. But yeah, I mean, it was good. Okay. So Kingdom of Ash, I'm hoping to draw out of my mason jar soon. If I do not, which I just wrote it here. Just wrote it on this Post-it, so I'm gonna go put it in my mason jar. If I don't pull it out soon, I do have a few that are like free. Like I get to choose whatever book I want to read, and then I will choose those. So while I was doing the tandem read, which took quite a while, I didn't read other books, but I listened to quite a bit. So I listened to Room of Marvels by James Bryan Smith. This is like an allegorical book about heaven. Sorry, my nose ring feels really weird and itchy. I hated it. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. C.S. Lewis does it better. I don't hate allegories. I hated this. I gave it 2 stars. It was like 4 hours. Thank God. Thank you, Jesus. It was, okay, this is what I wrote. It was weird, boring, and predictable. And praise the Lord, I have not had someone very close to me pass. At least not someone like super young. And I get that it would maybe be very moving for some people. And maybe it's because I listened to an audiobook. That might be why. The horses are weird. I don't know. I didn't like it. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, let's move on. Dolls of Our Lives. Yeah, sounds like Days of Our Lives, right? It's about the American Girls. That's why I read it. Because I love American Girl. Literally love them so much. I have Felicity and Molly, in case you're wondering. So this really spoke to me. Which apparently says, I'm a rich bitch and a lesbian. I'm not a lesbian. If I were, I wouldn't be single. Okay? Okay? Anywho, this book was not everything I thought it was going to be, so it was a little bit disappointing. They just made it like very like political, and it just felt like we could have celebrated a little bit more. There were great things in it. They talked about the American Girl magazine, which was amazing. It was so good. And they talked about the paper dolls in the magazine that were like girls that they submitted and had like historical dress on them. And I had such a visceral memory of these paper dolls. So I went and like Googled it, and you can look at every single one. And I sent pictures to my sisters, and we all had memories of playing with these paper dolls that we cut out. Oh my gosh, they're so good. So if anyone out there wants to like revamp American Girl magazine, that was so good. And the catalog and the historical girls, and I still appreciate American Girl now, but the historical girls were where it was at. They also really tore apart the books. Like how Molly went to camp even though her dad was like in World War II, and it's like, well, we're not talking about the war. These are supposed to be girls living in these times. So they have a podcast that I will listen to. So that's why they wrote the book. There's these 2 historians that were American Girl lovers, and they had a podcast. It's like quite a few seasons, I think. I think it's done now. And then they did this book. And so maybe the book is a little bit better, like summary if you've already listened to their podcast. But yeah, so good, not great. I gave it a 3. But gosh, American Girl. It does make me want to reread the American Girl books, which I have. What do I have? Oh. I have all the Felicities and the Mollys. Did you notice that I'm wearing red on red. You weren't ever supposed to see that. Sorry. I have spilled on everything that's been on my top. So this is a sports bra that I have red dust on. And then I had a really cute top on over top. When I was wearing my red pants that, I got like pizza grease all over. So RIP to all my clothes on top today. All right. So after that, I needed a good palette cleanser. And this bad boy has been looking at me, you know? The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. This is the sequel to The Serpent and the Wings of the Night, because we just freaking love our super long titles for fantasy that all sound the same. Serpent and the Wings of the Night was so good, 5 stars. This was 4 stars. I didn't expect it to be as good because it really felt like, so that was more of like a gladiatorial games, high stakes, enemies to lovers, like so many things. And now we've overthrown the kingdom and we've betrayed each other. So we're dealing with that. And it was good. There was a lot of like weird, I don't know. There's just some weird parts. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't super surprising because I feel like you know what's going to happen. They're going to be in love and they're going to rule together. So I'm sorry that I spoiled that for you. So it's like this is a duology and then there's going to be another duology in there. So this is the Nightborn duet, and then there's Bloodborne, I think is the next one maybe. So I feel like I would keep reading this series, duets, whatever. It's good. All right. Manacled by Sen Lin Yu. This is fan fiction of Harry Potter. Do not take this lightly. This is a very dark book. There are a lot of, like, I don't really believe in trigger warnings, but, like, you should read the trigger warnings. But, that being said, wowza. I so badly wish that I could see a movie of this. I read on my phone, it was 18,000 pages. So I don't know what that translates to in a book from phone pages, but like it was long. It was really long. And freaking delightful. It was good the whole way through. 5 stars. 6 out of 5. Voldemort has won the war. And Hermione is found languishing in a prison because that bitch Umbridge left her there. And people didn't know where she was. They just like left her for a year and a half. So her mind's a little bit broken and she is put into a breeding program. Is it very Handmaid's Tale? Yes, it is. And guess who she's given to? Draco. It's Draco. You guys, there were parts of this where I was like, there is no freaking way this can be redeemed. This is awful. This is, like, why are we writing this story? Why is this happening? This feels bad. This still feels bad. And then it does. She redeems it. It is so good. It's so good. It's also really spicy. So do not read it if you don't like spice. I might read it again. That's how good it is. So now I understand why people are passionate about it. It's so, so, so good. And like even before I finished it, it was like, this is 5 stars. It's 5 stars. Like halfway through, I knew. And it stayed good the entire time. How do you do that? And then some people just like peter out. Like they just can't finish it, you know? Like even with a good idea. Okay, so hard to read anything else while you're reading that, but I did. I read The Grandest Game. This is the next in the Inheritance Games world, not series, because I feel like it's not, like there were 3, And then there's like a kind of a spin-off. And now this is what Avery is going to do with the rest of the money. So she has billions of dollars. And so she comes up with a game to give it away. And a lot of the people in here are like people who we've been like introduced. They're like side characters in the other ones. This book is very typical inheritance games. It is fast moving. It's puzzles. There's people fighting and you don't know the relationships. And then it's just done. It's a part 1. Oh man. So I gave it 4 stars. I just didn't feel like the stakes were as high because I don't know the backgrounds of these characters as much, but it was good. Very readable. These chapters are like 1 to 2 pages long, which just makes something so readable. And I'm a little bit annoyed because there's a book coming out in November and I was like, yes, next one's coming out. That one's a bunch of short stories. And honestly, I probably would not have pre-ordered it if I had known, because short stories just aren't my jam. Like, I will read it if I've read the rest. And like, Fantasy loves to do a short story series, like in the middle. Just like a court of Stars and Frostlight. Why are you putting a novella in the middle of an epic fantasy? You know, like, okay, we don't have to call it epic. It's not epic. Anywho, the Untold Rivals, I think, is the next one, comes out in like February. So, not super far away, but further away than I thought. All right. I then listened to, and I feel like these books they're just kind of a throwaway for me. Like, I know I'm going to kind of enjoy them. They're spicy. And that is the next in the Gods of Olympus, Cruel Seduction. So this is Hephaestus and Aphrodite, but they're also sleeping with other people. And then there's some group sex. So if you're into that, the storyline wasn't great. Spicy scenes were pretty good. So I gave them 3 stars. Then I read a physical copy, but I'd already got returned to the library. So Famous in a Small Town. This was a solid 2 stars for me. I'm so sorry. I hated this. I'm so sorry. I have read other books by this author that I have liked. This felt like they were given a high school assignment, and it was like, please talk about Cherry Republic, Cherry Fest, the Michigan Treasure Cookie, peach pitting, have everyone kill their husbands, people fall in love, the main character just like is both the main characters are like boring and annoying at the same time. Like, the old lady was the best part probably, but then we're like gearing up for her to die the whole time, so you know she's gonna die. Sorry if I'm spoiling this for you, but please don't read it because it wasn't good. The only good thing to come out of this book, we had a great discussion where my sister and I said that we hated it, and everyone else was like, I mean, it was chaotic, but it was fine. And then Becky gave us treasure cookies, and we ate them, and they were delicious, actually. And I never in my life would have picked up a cookie with cherries in them. It's pretty good. And they were gluten-free, and I would not have noticed. So props to Becky. Becky Habman. Good job. So yeah. The one thing coming out of it is that now I have a hankering to get further up north. I want to go through the Tunnel of Trees real bad. So waiting to see if I can book a VRBO for 2 nights instead of 3. If it works out, we're going. If it doesn't, maybe next year. But I'm not paying for 3 nights of a VRBO when I only want to go for 1 to 2. So, if you like Michigan propaganda and really bad stories, try Famous in a Small Town. Okay, another book. Wild. Big Swiss by Jen Began. So, quite a few people have read this, but like nobody's really recommending it because it's like not universally recommendable. And I would agree. I would not recommend this to people. I think I would give it 3 stars. I think I gave it 3 stars. So our main character has boundary issues and she's a weirdo. She's freaking weird, okay? She transcribes sessions for a sex therapist. The sex therapist seems like he's bad at his job. conversations are wild. So she listens to a Swiss woman describe like her assault and the rest of the things that she's talking to her sex counselor with. But they live in a very small town. So she recognizes all these people's voices as she's walking around. So she decides to become involved with this woman, even though she listens to her sex therapy. The big Swiss woman that she falls in love with, is married. And there is a whole lot of other shenanigans that are happening. It's wild. There were some funny parts. But again, I cannot recommend this to you. But if it sounds intriguing, you go for it. You go for it. Then I listened to Mad Honey, which is Jodi Picoult's, I think, most recent book. I knew it was about LGBTQ, and I knew it was going to be good because hers always are. And they normally involve a court case. Or do they always? Now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like they almost always involve a court case, which is kind of wild. So yeah, I don't really want to give the story away too much, but like our main character, is found dead by her boyfriend, and the boyfriend is accused of killing her. She's a main character, so she actually speaks like in the past tense. The mom is also the narrator, the mom of the boy who's accused of murder. And she is an apiarist. She has an apiary, so bees. So that's where the Mad Honey comes in. Yeah, I liked it. It was really good. I think I gave it 4 stars. My laundry's done. That's what the beeping is. It was good. It was an audiobook, and it was like 15 maybe hours, and it read really well. So if you're looking for an audiobook, that's a good one. Then I think this is where my week off, well, like I finished Big Swiss and then Mad Honey, and then this is where my like week off started, and I was like, can I finish? This was my stack of books at the beginning of the week, with one other one, One Dark Window, which I had decided like that one of these things is not like the other. So these are pretty much all like very like summery romance, and I wanted to get through them because it's August. And One Dark Window is fantasy, and it just didn't feel like the vibe. So I decided that if I had time at the end, I would read that one, but I needed to read a book a day in order to make that happen. So I started with Just for the Summer. And again, I kept pulling these out of the mason jar. The only one I skipped was One Dark Window, which I actually don't think I pulled that one. So still would have worked out. This is the third in the series of Part of Your World, Yours Truly, and then Just for the Summer. This was so good. This is actually where a book a day started, because I read this in a day, like kind of on accident. Like I think I got like maybe 50 pages in, and then I was like, I have to go to bed. So I went to bed, and the next day I just read this. And it is so nice to read a book that you're that into. It's just so good. So I'm pretty sure I gave this one 5 stars. This is what my book journal looks like for these next few books. Oh well, we'll fill it out soon. So yeah, I'm pretty sure this is 5 stars. I loved it. I loved the characters. I loved the premise. I loved what happened in the end. So good. Then I read A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston. This, I feel like I gave it like 3.75 or 4 stars. Our main character is, it's like a year after she was left by her fiance, and she's going to a book club retreat that nobody else is going to. So she's just going by herself just because, and in a rainstorm she pulls off, and then she realizes that she is like in her favorite book series. Like she is there. These people are real. And this was fun and beautiful, and it talks a lot about grieving. I did really like it. Yeah, and just kind of interesting to be like, if you were dropped into your favorite series, what would that be like? What would you do? Like, because she is, I mean, she's just like geeking over these people, but also like things that like seem good in a book maybe aren't good in real life. Like if you feel like you're stuck there, you know, like if you give up your career for a man, that kind of thing. So I read this because I have also read The Dead Romantics and The 7 Year Slip, and I really enjoyed those. And I also enjoyed this. I feel like she has like just like a romance, but then she does like a slightly fantastical thing. So Dead Romantics, the love interest is dead. 7 Year Slip, the apartment like brings them together 7 years apart. So like he is 7 years earlier and she is current day. And this one we're kind of like on a set of a book, but the people don't know they're in a book. It's good. Then I listened to myself read Wildfire by Hannah Grace. This is the author of Icebreaker. I liked this one more than Icebreaker. This was good. The camp vibes were good because they have, what are their names? Come on. Russ and Aurora? Yeah. So Russ is a hockey player that we meet in the first book. Aurora is a Jersey chaser. So she's normally with like basketball guys, and she goes to a party with friends, has a one-night stand, and like gets out of there. And then they realize that they're camp counselors together all summer. So they are obviously attracted to each other. There's no fraternization in the rules. So they like kind of like have to fight it for a while, and then they actually get together. They both have daddy issues, so that's fun. Yeah, it was just good. It was well done. Spicy scenes. At the end, it dragged down a little bit because it's like, okay, I think we know what we're gonna do. And then it's like, oh, now we have to deal with all this psychological stuff, and then we're gonna do like, I think it's like a 5-year jump, which I'm so sorry. But when I'm reading the book for Smut, I don't actually care if they have kids together. Okay? I used to love that so much. So much. And now I'm just like, stop. I want this book to be done. I don't know if I will read Daydream, which I think is the third one. Like, it was good, but it wasn't that good. You know what I mean? So I think 4 stars is what I gave this. 3.75. Like, it wasn't bad. It was a romance. And then I read The Husbands by Holly Gramazio. This was a book of the month in April of 2024. I do not believe that, no, I did not choose this one. I got it as an add-on later because I heard so many good things about it. So our main character comes home from like a night out with her friends, and a man comes out of her attic, and she sends him back up into the attic, and another man comes down. We go through many, many husbands, like hundreds in this book. So anytime a man goes into her attic, another husband comes down. And then lots of other things change in her life as well. So she's trying to like pick a good one. Lots of shenanigans happen. It's like, it's funny, but it's also like a sad book at the same time. Like a lot about like life's choices and how to make a good life. And it was really well done. I think I said 4 stars, 4.5. It's not a 5-star for me, but oof. What a stressful life to have husbands just appearing, and then when you can't send them into the attic. So yeah, it just like left me with a heavy heart a little bit, you know? The Work Girlies have been recommending Flock to me by Kate Stewart, and I have to say, I'm so sorry guys, but there are better books out there. This felt like a little bit creepy because she's like a high schooler. Okay, she's 18, but she's still really young. And like watching her get gangbanged, I don't know. group sexual dynamic. The spicy scenes were the best part. But yeah, I just feel like the story wasn't amazing. And I'm sorry, but there's so much romance out there. Guys, I don't know. The last chapter actually piqued my interest the most. So similar to Guild, where it's like, but why though? Why though? But I do have to tell my friends at work, if you like this, you should probably read, what is it called? It's like, Hate, Liar, Kate. It's the Madison Kate series. So there's 4 of them. And she's an adult, a little bit more. She's like 3 years older than this girl, but still feels more adult. And the storyline, I feel like, is better. I don't think I'm going to pursue the rest of the series, but if someone wants to tell me what happens, it'd be nice. The cliffhanger pissed me off. Like, I want to know who the Frenchman is. 3 stars? And then I read Honey. I think these are supposed to be boobs, because he makes such a big deal about how big her boobs are all the time. So this feels like a Britney Spears book. So fictional pop stars in the 90s growing up. So it feels like like a memoir that Britney wrote about her and Justin and her friendships with other people. I mean, it's very fictional, but it's like, I feel like we know where we got this story, you know? However, this ends better. So when she didn't get under a conservatorship and have bad shit happen to her, I liked it. I enjoyed how it was told. I don't know if everyone will. And I think the reason I enjoyed it so much is because I am such a Britney stan. Like, I love her so much. And I really wish that the media and pop culture had not, like, literally ruined her brain. Yeah. So I think it was super interesting because of that. It did not read super interesting. So I think that if you don't love that, you may not love this. I gave it 4. Solid 4. And then I also finished Empire of the Damned by Jay Kristoff. I had, prior to this month, I had started reading this and I was not paying attention, so I just DNF'd it. This is a 30-hour audiobook. I read his other series, which is, I will not remember what it is. They're so good, though. Nevernight, I think that may be the first one. And that, I love that series. Like, I think all 3 of them were like 4 or 5 stars. They were so good. Loved the character, loved the writing. So then I thought, no brainer. I love vampires and I love this author, right? So it was Empire of the Vampire was the first one, and this is Empire of the Damned. Empire of the Vampire was really good. I liked it, but yeah, it's like told as a memoir kind of, and there were parts that I listened to it, where the other series I read the physical book. So I do think that for me, when it's like that long of a book, if I read it physically, I stay in it a lot better. Where this book, I would find my mind wandering. I actually had to restart it at one point, or like back up quite a bit. Gosh, I've been talking for such a long time. I read too many books. Anywho, I gave this, what did I give it? Like 3.5 maybe. Like, it's good, but I think I would have enjoyed it more if I read it physically. And I wouldn't just recommend it to people because, again, it didn't hold my attention that much. A lot of fighting. So if you like that, that's cool. And of course we left on a cliffhanger, so that means there's gonna be another one. But why does it have to be 30 hours, right? Like, if it was even 20, I could maybe justify that. It's like 2 books. 30 is so many. It's so many books. Yikes. That's it. That's August. So it felt good. There were some really good books. There were some kind of duds, but they're off the TBR. We accomplished something. And I am excited for September's reading. Lots of fantasy. So much. Lots of big ones too. So if you don't like fantasy, I'm sorry about next month, but I had people pick my TBR from my Instagram, and so apparently everyone that looks at everyone that cares what I read is a fantasy stan. So coming for you in September. Bye.